purpose for my life that's about more than just me. From grief to purpose. No, I am not my pain, and I'm telling you my journey of healing is gonna take me from grief to purpose. Turning my pain into purpose. From grief to purpose. Turning all my pain into purpose. From grief to purpose.
Welcome back to From Grief to Purpose podcast. Now, before we get started, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. It helps me reach more listeners just like you. Now, joining me today, I have Mr. Anthony Langford and Mr. Eric Neal, who are representing an incredible organization, changing lives from the ground up, Midlands Fatherhood Coalition. I also have to put out, you guys, I had some technical difficulties in this particular episode, so I do apologize ahead of time for that. But please grab your favorite beverage, get ready to listen in on all of the information that they have to share with you all, especially you fathers out there. All right, you guys, let's get into this episode. Right here in the state of South Carolina in the Midlands, the Fatherhood Coalition, Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, brightens the future of children and strengthens the community by supporting positive and responsible fatherhood engagement. So through topical peer group sessions, individualized goal setting, and personalized case management, MFC meets fathers right where they are. Many of the men they serve face real challenges: custody and visitation issues, parenting concerns, employment barriers, and more. MFC walks alongside them, providing hope, guidance, and the tools they need to grow. Now, as a nonprofit organization, Midlands Fatherhood Coalition offers all of its programs free of charge to any father with children 18 and under. Now, today we're diving into the heart of their mission and the impact it's making one father at a time. First of all, welcome, gentlemen, to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So I'm going to get started because I want to know a little bit more about the two of you. So I want to get started with just a short intro. And I'll start with Mr. Langford. If you can tell us a little bit about yourself, and then Mr. Neal, if you can tell us about yourself after him. But if you can start by telling us just a little bit about you, maybe where you're originally from, or where you're from currently, and how you got started with this organization.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Well, thanks again for having us on, Ms. Menina. It's a pleasure. Glad to be here. I guess for the most part, I can speak on both behalves, and we have a passion for what we do. First off, I guess for me, it started, of course, years ago. As a matter of fact, when I found out about Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, I had just gotten married a few years prior to finding out about the organization. I became a bonus dad, so I had my oldest son. At the time, we actually, my wife and I started dating. He was 1 year old. He's 13 now. But of course, my background falls into, I received my undergrad in communications at UC Aiken back in 2010. I started my career with SC Works years ago, back in 2011. Didn't quite know what I wanted to do as far as for my career, so I kind of stumbled into the Employment Services Division, or Career Services, if you will. That years later led me to meeting some awesome individuals that actually work with the Midlands Fatherhood Coalition. And the time that came around was so perfect for me to actually be around these staff members, these awesome participants who I've known, got to know for years now, be a part of this awesome organization. Being a part of these peer group sessions have not only helped the participants, but they also helped me tremendously. Here we go, fast forward years later. We have two more additional children as well, so 3 sons in all. I'm originally from Batesburg, Leesville, South Carolina. We call it the country part, Leesville part of that area. My wife is from, of course, the Charleston area. Now we live in Lexington. We both live in Lexington now, Lexington, South Carolina. We've been there since we've been married, 10 years now. So I've been in Lexington County all my life, but here we're in the main office here in Richland County, where we try to do our best to lead the way to serve these dads. And it's a pleasure working with my colleagues such as Mr. Eric Neal. It's a fun time for us. We learn a lot from each other, learn a lot from the participants. It's been a joy. It's been an absolute joy and a privilege.
Nice. Thank you so much. Mr. Neal, what about yourself?
Yes, good afternoon once again. Thank you for inviting us, Ms. Smith. Like I said, my name is Eric Neal. I'm the site manager over the Richland and Lexington offices. Pretty much how I got into fatherhood, two individuals approached me at another job and they started describing to me what they did. And it kind of like it just touched me because I always tell the guys, even the guys that we work with now, I could have been in the program. I'm a divorced father of 3. And I tell these guys, I'm straight up with them, like, fatherhood could have saved my marriage probably, what I'm saying, if I had enrolled in the program, if I had known about it. But like I said, me and my ex-wife, we co-parent very well. My sons are 20, 21, 20, and I have a 18-year-old that'll be graduating from Lower Richland High School. So just like I said, it's doing what we do, you have to have a passion for it. And the goal is to work to try to change one dad's life at a time. If you change one dad's life, then you change a generation of families.
Wow. First of all, I love how both of you have 2 very unique experience and background, and that your fathers, so you have that wealth of experience. So that shows, just adds to the why of why you're with this particular organization. I love that. All right, so I'm going to get into my questions. I have some questions for you guys. I was trying to select my questions or word them in a way that would hopefully be helpful to whom will be able to will be listening to this podcast. So I'm going to start with my first question, and either of you can answer this particular question. The question that I have for you to start is, if you can share with me, if you happen to know why or what inspired the creation of Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, who it was founded by, and how has the mission of the organization evolved so far since its inception?
You want me to take that one, TJ?
You know what? I was going to say, like, Miss Manita, the thing about it, Eric and I do a lot of presentations together. He always starts out with a great story of fatherhood in such an awesome, impactful way. I'm going to allow him to go ahead and knock that out. It's awesome.
Okay. So how this thing evolved was, it's an organization called the Sisters of Charity. And what they did is they did some studies to find out, why are young people becoming pregnant at such an early age? Why is there's such a high rate of high school dropout? Just things going wrong in families. What is the one main common factor? And through years of doing studies and research and everything else, they found out that it was one common factor. It was the fact that fathers are not in the home. Fathers are not present. So along with that, spun down, and fatherhood has been the Fatherhood Coalition has been in the business of doing what we do for over 20 years. So this has been a long process. So that's what spun along the Center for Fathers and Families. What the Center for Fathers and Family does is they provide technical support and training for 5 fatherhood coalitions across the state of South Carolina. And with that 5 fatherhood coalitions, what they do is they serve the various counties. And here at Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, what we do is we serve basically 16 counties across the Midlands. Basically, our main 3 offices are in Sumter, here in Richland, and of course Lexington. And then we serve what we call outreach counties, like your Bamberg, Barnwells, your Saludas, your McCormicks, things of that nature. So pretty much we've been in existence for over 20 years of doing what we do.
Wow, wow. That's amazing, first of all. And then also too, let me add, because I also meant to add this beforehand, but of course, if you've been tuning into the podcast from Grief for Purpose, I cover grief, but grief encompasses not just the loss of a loved one. And that's the reason also why I wanted to have you 2 on to discuss this, because grief is also life transitions. And as we know, having a child, at an early age or out of wedlock, or especially, that early age being you are a teenager, is a, significant life transition. And I also, just wanted you all to come on to speak to that piece as well, as how to show how impactful that is or has been to the people that you all serve. So let me go into my second question. Again, either of you can answer this one. But can you all discuss like some of the services, the core services that the organization MFC provides, and how it practically impacts the fathers that you serve?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I apologize, Ms. Bonita. I meant to mention that at the beginning of the podcast, my position is regional job developer for organization. And just like Mr. Neal, we get a chance to do wear a lot of different hats in organizations, so we see a lot. But for the most part, with Midlands Fatherhood, of course, the mission is to engage fathers in the positive support of their children, as well as enhance support for fatherhood throughout the Midlands. So with that being said, our core services provide fathers with different resources to allow them the personal development aspect of what we do. A lot of times dads come through our doors in crisis mode, and you mentioned the grief part of everything. So these guys come in positions where they may not have seen their children in weeks, months, perhaps years. And having that missing piece, even as a father, when you're not able to actually engage with your children, is a very hard thing. Fortunately, I never had to experience that myself. I can only imagine being a father, how that really feels when that huge piece of yourself has been removed from you, and different situations happen. So within fatherhood, we have a full parenting curriculum. And of course, we as in the intervention specialists, regional job developers, site managers, we all work together to provide, these classes and facilitate these group sessions for these fathers who come in. And these group sets, they consist of healthy relationships, talking about relationship with yourself, with others. Who did I watch growing up, as far as who did I model after, as far as relationships are concerned. Parenting and co-parenting. How do I communicate better with the co-parent, with the, custodial parent, which is the mother a lot of times. How do I, manage my money, my income? How do I understand credit? We have the economic piece, economic mobility. We talk about legacy. We talk about building legacies for your children, for your families. And then we have another important piece, which is called healthy fathers, healthy families. Being healthy overall, mentally, physically. What am I eating? What am I doing? What are the activities I'm performing? What am I doing with my children to teach them how to be healthy? That kind of thing. We also have a free health screening that we have throughout the course of the year during the components. We have actually a nurse practitioner who actually comes in, talks to these fathers, and she has free services and just a plethora of information and a wealth of information for these guys. We have a story about her later on if we get a chance, but we call her the miracle worker of our organization on the health side. And she provides all these services for these men who don't have access or the money rather to pay for these expensive, health insurance premiums and things like that. So she has resources herself to help us out. So the core strength of the organization is that, secret sauce, those group sessions that gives the fathers the opportunity to come in to, be vulnerable, if you will, with one another, to have the conversations about things that they're not going to possibly talk about with their guys or their homeboys on the streets. We're talking about fatherhood, we're talking about legacy building, we're talking about families and things like that. And these fathers come together and they cry together, they laugh together, they open up about things they never opened up about before. It's a safe space for these dads, and that's what we like to provide, for our fathers who come in through those doors.
Nice. Now you mentioned, if we can go back for just a little bit, you mentioned that the fathers come in faced with many like in crisis. Can you go into a little bit, just in case there's somebody out there listening, a father that may be unsure, feeling uncomfortable, like, should I call? Should I contact? What exactly, when you say crisis,
yes,
what are some of the examples that you can share or have seen? Not, of course, naming individuals, but like, what are some examples of a particular crisis or some crisis situations?
Absolutely. Just to name a few. So we have guys who come in. Well, to go back a little bit, of course, fathers do come through our doors voluntarily, whether they're dealing with visitation issues, being unemployed. That means no income is coming in at all, which a lot of times I said, when the father is not able to provide for himself, for his children, for his family, it kind of puts him in somewhat of a depressed state as well. Because fathers been made to provide, to secure, to strengthen, to build. And when you don't have that foundation set and that piece is missing, along with not being able to actually see your children and spend time, or being able to actually pay, if you have a child support order, if you're not working, you can't pay it. So that's another strain, that's another stress that you deal with as well. Then, of course, you have guys come in. We had a phone call today, for example, a father who wanted to come in just simply to be a better person, be a better communicator. Because, again, as a father, you're trying to set that foundation. You're trying to bridge the gap between the parents. You're trying to do things the right way. And sometimes that depressed state can come in where you don't feel like you have the resources and the know-how to strengthen that relationship or be a better parent or be a better person. And then, of course, there's loss, like I said, with the children, not be able to spend time. There's some fathers come in who may have some kind of visitation, but it might not be through the courts. It may be by the mother's discretion. So in other words, if a father does something wrong or does something to offend the mother or whatever have you, guess what? She pulls the children away. So that tends to happen from time to time as well. This is a couple of examples. I'm pretty sure, Mr. Neal, you might have some more, brother, of what we deal with as well.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like I said, TJ put it so eloquently, but just to piggyback on what he was saying, and I don't want to, he sort of kind of likes to take the shine off of himself. So a lot of times when our guys come in, it's literally, he touched on it, but he said it's literally, I'm not working, and when you did our introduction and when TJ spoke on it a little bit a while back, also, he said any barriers that a father may have, any barriers is wide. It's wide. Any barriers. If we can't help them, then we have the resources that can help them. But just to piggyback on what he was saying was we have relationships with other agencies, and one of them is family court. So let's just say, for an example, a guy comes in and he's 8 months back in reference to child support, and the judge pretty much is saying, hey, that child isn't getting, the custodial parent isn't getting the money to provide for that child. I'm going to lock you up. So when he's locked up, what happens? The child support continues to grow and grow and grow. We're in family courts. The judges know who we are in reference to fatherhood and what we do. So if we're in court and we talk with the judge and let them know, say, hey, judge, we want to work with this individual. We feel we can help this individual. The judge may say, well, instead of me locking you up, I need you to join this program. And within this program, they're going to help you do X, Y, and Z. And then he comes back and probably about 5-6 months later, he comes back and reports to the judge. He's found employment. He's been able to visit with his kids. Child support is now not in arrearage or not. He's paying it as court ordered and everything else. So those are the type of things that we do. And the dad walks away feeling better, knowing that, hey, I got this off my shoulder. I'm able to pay my child support. I'm able to visit with my child. So, those are the, when you talk about the barriers and stressors that dads may come in with, that's just one. TJ is the guy that has relationships with what we like to consider second chance employers. So when these guys come in with criminal background records and things of that nature, while going through his process in reference to boot camp, TJ can kind of let them know, say, hey, this guy's in fatherhood. They already are equipped with the soft skills from his training and stuff like that he does with them to where they can get that employment part. And once again, is able to knock down another barrier.
Wow. So I want to make sure I stress that and put that in there, because we often talk a lot about women, and the resources that are available for mothers. So I wanted to make sure that we're also, adding that information to make fathers feel comfortable about what's is afforded to them through this organization. And then also, I don't know if I said it, but if I did, please correct me, but I want to be sure. When we say fathers, are we just talking about the ones that you assist? Are these single dads only, or are these new fathers that may be having a hard time providing for, their family if they are, married or, in a relationship? How does that work with you all?
The funny part about it is we actually just enrolled 2 18-year-olds. So they can be 18 to 80. The only thing they have to do is they have to have a child under the age of 18. And, and let me just clarify that a little bit. It doesn't have to be their biological child. They can be in the home. They can be providing resources for that child, and they need assistance. So, it doesn't necessarily have to be your biological child. They have to be attached to a child.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Now, if you're 80 years old and you're still having kids, I'm going to need you to come on this podcast, okay? Because we need to have a whole. He said 18. I mean, I know, the human body is a wonderful thing, but if you are 80 years old out there still having kids, I'm going to sit down somewhere. We just sat down somewhere. All right. So on to my next question, you guys. So how do you measure success when it comes to father involvement and family outcomes? And can you share some success stories that really stand out to you all so far with your involvement with the organization and the fathers that you have supported over the years?
Well, not to toot our own horn, TJ, but our organization, Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, we've, of course, like I said, there are 5 other organizations across the state of South Carolina. And I want to say, gosh, don't quote me on the numbers, but I've been here for 5.5 years. And since I've been here, we've won what's been called the Data of the Year Award every year since I've been here. Oh, no, please don't have nobody fact check me. I'm just trying to remember. But literally what we do is when our dads enroll in our program, we track the data that we do in reference to the amount of money that we help the city save in reference to child support. We track success rates in reference to if this dad came in and he was not employed, where he was at when he came in, where he was at in the middle of the program, where he's at when he graduated the program. Everything that we do is tracked through two data sources that we keep all our information in. So when we provide information to say things like, this is what we do, this is the monies that we save, this stuff is actually tracked by hardcore data that we retain.
Nice. I like that. So you guys are like walking with them, like stepping it out with them every step of the way, making sure they're good until they no longer need the services. Now, is that like a graduation period where they come to you all and say, I'm okay, I no longer need your services? Or do you have like that graduation period where you tell them like, you're at a pretty good point, or you all have a cutoff point?
So our program actually just recently changed a little bit. Our program used to be a 6-month long program where the end of the curriculum that Anthony just spoke of, it would take about 6 months to complete. What we do now is, because of the way some of our partners, Department of Social Services is one of our biggest partners, and because of the way they changed their criteria on how they're handling their cases, we actually shortened our program to where we can still stay in line with what they're doing. So now it takes about 3 months to complete our program. All of our services are no cost to our fathers, but the only thing we ask you to do is we ask for your time and cooperation in reference to coming and participate in our peer group sessions. So now it takes about 3 hours depending on what site you enroll in, it takes about 3 hours to complete 2 curriculums, which will result in them completing in 3 months. So when they complete in 3 months, they work with an intervention specialist who pretty much talks with them about a one-man plan. Once these one-man plans, and these are goals on the one-man plans, once these goals are accomplished, if they accomplish those goals and they completed the course requirements, then pretty much they're on board to graduate. But let's just say they have some more issues. They can complete the course requirements, but still stay enrolled in fatherhood to work through those issues that they may have. Because who's to say they're just coming in and just having 3 issues? They could have 12. Our goal is to help them through those issues that they have, and then once they're complete, then we look at graduation and stuff. So we do have yearly graduation ceremonies and stuff like that.
Wonderful. I like that. Remember, gentlemen out there listening, no cost. Okay, no cost. So I love free information and free guidance, and especially when you really have that support that you need, because just remind yourself that you don't have to be out there trying to do it by yourself. There is support out there for you if you need help. So my next question would be, in what ways does MFC collaborate, if you all do, like with other community organizations, schools, faith-based institutions, to strengthen the impact of the work that you all do?
To be honest with you, Ms. Smith, we actually, there's no limit to our outreach. Again, like Mr. Eric mentioned so beautifully a minute ago, we're here to serve all fathers, no matter their backgrounds, whether it is through a faith-based organization, whether it's through one of our partner organizations, or organization we have not partnered with yet. We're building that relationship. Even when I go out, one of the things I do as a regional job developer, on one side, I get a chance to go out and conduct outreach with employers and other organizations that can help us on the employment services side for our dads. One thing I tell the employers always is, when it comes to partnerships, I believe it's a win-win situation, and we all have that belief, that mindset as a fatherhood organization. When it comes to a partnership, hey, you're not just helping us, I want to help you out as well. So with that being said, if you have any dads, that work for this company, they're going through some things, they're dealing with different issues that may be causing, some problems in the workplace, maybe some deficiency in their performance, whatever the case may be, it's a distraction. Please let us know, because they have free resources, a free service that can help them to kind of get through their situation, to help them focus better, have more confidence in their situation that's going to be okay. Because sometimes when we look at success, and you mentioned success a minute ago, we have an organizational success. Again, I can explain it better than Mr. Neal did just now. Another piece of that success, when it comes down to that one-man plan, is we want that dad to feel successful from point A to point Z. One of the most amazing things to see is a dad who does come through our doors, who had no chance or thought they had no chance whatsoever to reconnect with their children. All of a sudden, they're walking in a few months later with their kids in their hands and say, y'all, I have my kids back. I got visitation now. We're going out to play this weekend. That is such an awesome feeling to see that, because we feel like what we do is not just, it's not the job. It's a passion. It's a mission to be on the front lines, to help fathers to understand their purpose again and really have that momentum booster, those victories that may be small, medium, or large, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it takes that little step, that little victory to kind of build that momentum and that confidence. And that gives that father that successful mindset. Say, hey, man, I met this goal. I'm ready for the next one now. And so when they leave here, we always tell them, even when you graduate, we're not kicking you out. You never leave fatherhood. You're always a part of fatherhood organization. And so what happens is some of those guys always come back as alumni to sit in on group, to talk to these other guys who are coming in for their first time and say, hey, I've been through that before, man. Now it's your turn. I'm gonna help you out. So those kind of successes you see when those guys who were quiet when they came in wasn't certain about their situation. Now they're confident and talkative about and ready to encourage and help somebody else move forward as well. It's such a beautiful thing to see. So that part of the success of the program is awesome as well. And it keeps us motivated, because it's like a ministry to us, and sometimes you pushing through, you're pulling the dads through, you're trying to coach them through and encourage them, whatever. It drains you a little bit because you're steady pushing. You don't understand how much energy it takes. But when you see that success happens, it keeps you moving, man. It's so awesome.
Wow.
And
Nice.
just to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Anthony said, we actually just did a Donuts for Dads last week Friday. And when we do a presentation, we like to present fatherhood. We like to tell them everything, what fatherhood does, how fatherhood can affect them, how it's affected individuals in the past. We hold no bars. We answer all questions. But when we did this Donuts for Dads, it was just like literally engaging with the dads. And you said it earlier. You said there are an array of services for moms out there, but not a lot of people understand that fatherhood is like pretty much a one-stop shop. Anything that you need. Once again, if we can't do it, then we have the resources, or we know the partners that can get it done. Moms have the services. Dads just don't understand that. In the state of South Carolina, let me just say this little piece too. In the state of South Carolina, when a child is born to an unwed couple, mom has 100% rights to that child. Dads don't understand that. Mom makes the decision whether or not she wants to place that dad on child support. That's totally up to mom or the state. Once again, if she's getting services from the state, it will put you on child support. But once that's done, once paternity has been established, dad now has the opportunity to establish court-ordered visitation to where mom doesn't call the shots no more. There's a judge that actually says, okay, well, little Johnny's going to be going with dad on XYZ weekend. And then once again, mom has to comply, or else there's a process that goes along to where, mom can be held in contempt. So those are the type of things that we have conversations with. And when you see dads and they don't understand this, they don't understand how this process goes. Because, who really understands it if you don't work it or live it, like attorneys and stuff like that? We're able to break these things down and help dads reach those expectations and stuff at zero cost.
Wow. And it's a lot of information that, like you said, they just might not know. It's a lot of information that I'm hearing. And the reason, of course, I wanted to have you all come on and share, because there's a lot of information that I don't know, so I'm not even surprised that these fathers just may not know and need support. But if we let's go back for just a little bit too, because I want to talk about, y'all mentioned emotional support. Now, we all know, when it comes to mental health and therapy and getting counseling and things like that, things that you all provide, women, we can talk. We can, we find our groups, and it's just easier for me to talk. It's always said that, oftentimes men are not really comfortable with talking and expressing their emotions, even talking to one another. When it comes to like serious topics, unless you were just raised that way. So with that being said, an aspect of mental health, especially being a growing concern now, does your organization support fathers? I know you all do, but like in depth, can we go into a little bit on how you support them emotionally as far as their emotional wellness, for their growth, their own personal growth, and the growth of their families?
You know what? That's an amazing question. And I'm gonna hit on a keyword, safety. I think a lot of guys, us as men, typically we've been raised, to a certain degree. We have to be tough, walk it off, ride it out, escape to your cave, keep it to yourself. It's gonna work out in your mind. So really, we have not been, given the know-how or given a safe place to speak or to express ourselves. And I think that's the beauty about MFC, or Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, or the Fatherhood Initiative across the state, in general. Again, this is a safe space for guys to come in to after a certain time. And men a lot of men come in, they're very unique, they're different. Some guys may come in, they may right away want to talk, want to get it out. You have some guys who come in, the typical guy who want to be quiet and kind of conservative, don't want to say too much at first until they get comfortable, until they feel like they're in a safe spot. Because if there's a fear that if a man comes out and talks and finds himself vulnerable and gives out too much information, makes him look quote unquote weak, then it's kind of a judgment zone now. Now I'm being judged for expressing myself and that kind of thing. So I'm not safe anymore with expressing myself. So again, we deal with a lot of that. We do a lot of pent up stress and some anger, resentments. So there is an emotional barrier with our guys who do come through those doors based on their situations. But I think what lightens the room is that now you're around other dads, other men who, number one, we have the same purpose and goal, and that's pretty much being a great dad for our children, number one. So now you have that in common. And now you start to really hear other dads talk about, their situations, how it emotionally hurts them or impacts them. And now it gives another dad who didn't want to speak at first. Now he said, you know what? I feel safe now. Now I want to talk. I want to express myself. And our goal is to make sure, create an atmosphere where these guys come in. Yeah, you were quiet and conservative at first, but now if you leave here the same way you came in, that means our job has not been done yet. We want to make sure you leave out here feeling, free, feeling freed up about some of those things you've been dealing with by yourself. Because sometimes a man, again, being that you are conservative, you feel like you're on this island by yourself, that no one's going through this but me. But now you're around other men, like, oh man, now I see I'm not by myself now. So it gives a different perspective. And Mr. Eric mentioned earlier about the perspective of how we see things. And I think with with our group sessions, especially talking about, we have one part of our component for healthy relationships called Men are from Venus. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So it's kind of a cool way to see for men. Also, some women that may come in to see the difference between how men and women think, how we communicate, how we handle stress and handle situations. How do men handle emotional stress? How do women handle it? And what's the difference? And us men, we like to escape to our cave mentally, if not physically. I don't have a man cave myself, but sometimes mentally, I'll escape to myself and put on the TV or sports highlights or something, and just kind of process things I'm thinking about to try to make my family better, my marriage better, my relationship, my children better. It's what men do. We escape to our caves, and that's how we handle our emotional stress a lot of times. So we like to have an atmosphere where men can feel free to talk, and it does happen. Eventually, before they graduate, there's a difference in the communication and status of a father who does come through our doors.
Nice.
And if it ever gets to the point now, let us preface this by saying we're not licensed counselors, we're not therapists or whatever. We're men who understand the importance of fatherhood, and we're trying to relay that message to other men to understand the importance of fatherhood. But if it ever gets to the point to where an individual needs more assistance upon what we're able to provide, then once again, we're the type of organization that if we don't have the resources, we're going to find the resources. That's something that we would rely on our nurse practitioner to go ahead and divvy into her bag of tricks, and she would provide the services that individual needs. The goal is to get the man to open up. That's it. TJ hit it on earlier. We have a lot of built up stuff in us that we don't normally talk about.
Now, if we can share just a little bit, or if y'all can share just a little bit, I'm gonna ask a naive question, being a woman, I'm not a man, that, or, a father that has children, but to talk to the men that are listening that are still maybe a little bit, they hear it, they're uncomfortable. What are some of those, some of the conversations or the concerns that you all have heard from your other fathers that come to you all about like what they're mentally dealing with? Like, what are some of those stressors that you all, talk about, if you can share that maybe have been shared within your group, like that they're holding in, just to have an idea. Because when you think about it, like you said, like, men generally don't talk. So sometimes you may think that, oh, y'all are all right, just because of how some people carry themselves. But, my hope is always, that, I hope more men do open up, especially in the Black and Brown communities, that we are able to talk and be vocal about what we're going through so that we can, heal from certain things and be, successful in life. But if you can share maybe like, some of the stresses that they come in and they're like, just blah, once they begin to open up.
I mean, I'm
Wow.
gonna be honest. Some of the stresses is everyday stuff. Think about it. I'm not working. I've been out of work. The bills are mounting up. My kids, I don't feel like I'm having a positive impact in my kids' lives. Um, Child support is on me. My physical, I haven't been to the doctor. You'd be surprised. I haven't been to the doctor in 7 years. They think going to the emergency room is just the end all, the fix all end all. Just those type issues, everyday issues that you and me may face. These guys come in and instead of talking about it to trying to find solutions, they hold it in. And when they hold it in, then another problem comes in and it piles on and piles on and piles on. That's why in our one-man plan, what we do is we work with 3 issues at a time. We literally can tell you when we do an intake and assessment on a guy, he may have 15 problems. We know we can't knock out all 15 problems at one time. And that's what TJ reiterated to say. That's what guys coming in crisis mode. When you're coming in crisis mode, you came to us in crisis mode. Give us the opportunity to work with you. And let's knock out 1 to 2 to 3 goals at a time. When we knock out those 1 to 2 to 3 goals, now we're going to move on to the next set. But we're going to prioritize those goals. They come in priorities. However you want to say it, they come in priorities. We're going to prioritize what's the most important. Let's work on that. Let's work on that. And then we're going to have conversations about it. Because guess what? That individual has not released. When you're able to release, you'd be surprised at how many times we get guys, grown men in our office, sit down with us, and they literally release. They cry because they're able to finally get it out. And when he might have 15 issues going on, child support, haven't seen my kids, once one of those goals is accomplished or he's begun to see where it can potentially be accomplished, you would think he just won the lottery. Because he's gonna blow your phone up. Man, you never understand. She actually met with me. I get to visit with my kid at McDonald's. It starts, and it's like a roller coaster. Then things are starting to look up for him. Now he's starting to become more engaged. Or he got the job interview. And not say he got the job, he got the job interview. And he comes in feeling like a winner. Those are the type of things that we do. It's just getting that individual to understand that, hey, we're gonna knock this stuff out one by one. And you'll see over the course of time, it's gonna get better. But now, once we got you thinking, once we work to change that mindset, changing that mindset is what it's all about. Communication, changing that mindset. Now we're moving. Now we're building. Now we're growing.
Awesome. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
Also, I was, piggyback what Mr. Eric mentioned that was so perfectly said. It's so cool to see, how we can kind of get to the root of things. Like Mr. Eric mentioned the 3 goals in our one-man plan. If we could somehow within that one-man plan get to the root of what the main issue might be, or the main problem, and create that habit of, like Mr. Eric said, taking care of one problem at a time. 1, 2, 3. When by the time they graduate from fatherhood, they may not have all 15 of those problems fixed, but now they have an idea how to prioritize those issues and kind of knock down one bowling pin at a time. So it kind of gives them a different perspective on how to handle those hard issues and situations as well. Prioritizing.
Thank y'all for sharing that, because I wanted to just, again, reiterate if it has to be said over and over again. So the, fathers that are impacted in this way can hear that they're not the only individuals going through, their particular situation, especially when life hits, because life hits us all, but sometimes, as far as this particular, conversation that we're having about fathers trying to take care of their children, you may have someone out there that's just like, lost, and feeling like, well, this is my particular situation and I'm the only one going through it. and there's no help out there for me.
Yep.
But there is help. So I'm thankful that you all did stress that. So now to my next question. What advice would you all give to fathers who want to be more involved in their children's life, but they feel overwhelmed or unsure? Like, where do you all start with them?
Well, again, and like you mentioned, Miss Menina. Well, first of all, I want them to realize, of course, like you said, they're not by themselves. There are a lot more dads going through and dealing with the same issues they may be dealing with, and it's always a father going through something worse. Always, but you're not by yourself. Number one. Number two is the thing that we have a hard time to present as fathers. A lot of times, based on the situations, is patience. Sometimes we try to force based on the situation, because we always tell our fathers there's only so much you're in control of. You really can't control what the mother is doing. You can't control how she feels or that kind of thing. You can't really control that situation on that side, but you can control how you deal with things or how you handle things and process yourself, and how just being yourself, but actually being tempered, being in control of your emotions, which is easier said than done. And that's why I'm glad we're here to all talk with each other and fellowship together, to have each other's backs, encourage one another, if you will, because it does take a village, not just to raise children, but to also raise fathers. It takes a village. But patience, understand that, allow life, because life does be lifing, as we always say. Allow life to unfold as you continue to do the right things. You can only control so much. There are dads who are still maybe waiting on court dates for visitation, but they've done the preliminary things. They've done the right things, but now I'm ready to see my kids right now. But keep in mind, brother, it's going to take a process, but it's coming. So I guess patience while you're waiting is sometimes the hardest part, and sometimes it's kind of hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because it's like, oh, this process is taking so long. So my big thing is patience and just being confident, staying around other men who are like-minded, who are positive, who continue to build you up. Stay around, remain in that circle, and don't get into this island by yourself where now you have other things going into your brain, into your head that are negative. Always be around positive individuals, such as those you will meet in the Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, those other fathers may be going through. But understand how being around other positive dads can help take care of the issues and take care of those vices. Again, those little victories, just doing it together and being a part of a village, I think it makes a big difference as well.
Nice. Did you have anything to add, Mr. Neal?
I'm just going to tell her, Dad, get in touch with us. Let's have a conversation. Get in touch with us. Let's have a conversation about what you have going on. TJ, like I said, we're literally thinking alike, but engaging in those group sessions, because we're going to tell you it can happen. We're going to tell you it can happen. But when you engage in those group sessions, you're going to be sitting in a room with about 15, maybe 25 other guys. And when you come up and you want to talk and you share your story, it's going to be that guy sitting to you on the left. It's going to be that guy sitting to you on the right. They're going to say, bro, I was in your same situation 3 months ago. And now I'm getting ready to see my kids next week. You have to believe it can happen, and it's just a process. TJ continue to mention it when it comes to patience. When you see the process and you believe in the process and you work the process, that's the key. It's going to happen, but you got to work it. You've got to work it. We've been doing this for years. We've been doing this for years, so we know what it takes to do it. We have relationships with the individuals who you're trying to contact to get done what you want to get done. And you mentioned Midlands Fatherhood Coalition, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So just have a conversation with us. Come in and speak with us.
So I before we wrap up here in a little bit, first of all, I think it's important what you all just shared. Like, number one, it takes a village, and then once you get involved, if you're out there, please get in contact with the Midlands Father Coalition. But because you have to start somewhere and be patient, with the process. I've been my patience, I have to work on patience too. Because sometimes when things take forever, you're like, okay, I need this tomorrow. I need things to happen tomorrow. But be patient, and you're around a group of individuals, like you said, that are positive and doing the same work that these other fathers are doing. So that's also a wonderful, wonderful thing. What's the scripture? I'm gonna use the scripture, y'all. It says iron sharpens iron, right?
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
I love that. Now, I did ask a question. I know I asked before, Mr. Langford, during our phone call, but just in brief mentioning, if somebody, because this podcast, will go, out there, and somebody may see this in Minnesota. I don't know, but
Woo.
was an organization that I wasn't even aware of that's located here, right within the Midlands of South Carolina. But if someone happens to see the show and they call in to you all, are you all, do you turn them away, or do you give like phone advice, or like how do you all handle that particular situation? And Mr. Neal, you can answer it as well. Any one of you. I just wanted to put that out there just in case somebody calls in, from a different state.
Well, when they call in from a different state, we want to let them know that we're very familiar with the laws of the state of South Carolina. And of course, everybody knows laws change from state to state. But what we will do is we will try to find information to go ahead and give it and relay it to them in reference to the state that they live in. We can't sit there and say, yeah, do it this way, and it's gonna, because it could be done another way. It's crazy, but our neighboring states, Georgia and North Carolina, although we do it one way in South Carolina, they have somewhat different laws to where it's tickering just a little bit differently. So we have to be very careful on how we relay that information, because we don't want to give nobody the wrong information. But definitely, right, we'll have a conversation with anybody across the state of South Carolina, across the United States, in reference to fatherhood.
Nice. Awesome. All right. So before we go, I always ask if you two could please just give some encouragements, to a father that may be listening, or to send them your way. Also, please share, and I'm going to have it list you guys in the description, and you'll see it here, your website, where you can get in contact with you. But encourage that father that's out there thinking about coming, trying to, wanting to make the phone call, not really sure of when to do it, how to do it, why to do it, but if you all could just leave us with some parting words.
Look, to my dads out there watching this podcast, man, just be encouraged. Understand we are here. If you are here in South Carolina, you are here in the Midlands, please just stop by and see us. Our doors are open. Like my pastor says in my church, our doors hang on welcome hinges. Come on into the building, talk to us. Don't be shy. We don't bite. We have a man-to-man conversation. We've been through some things ourselves. Do not let the polos fool you. We have been through some things. We do go through things as well, but we all stick together to encourage one another. If you are calling, you do see us video from across the United States, feel free to call us. Like Mr. Eric mentioned, we're more than happy to talk to anyone. We do the best to our abilities to make sure we give you the right information based on our services and fatherhood in particular. Just be encouraged. You're not by yourself. Like I said, get around the village, get around other dads, other positive mindsets that can help you to improve, become a better person, become a better father, because everybody says the sky's the limit, but really as a father, as a leader, as a king, you have infinite ability. Don't limit yourself by yourself. Get around other fathers who think alike, who are going somewhere. Fly with eagles, don't fly with chickens. So please come see us.
Nice.
I just want to leave them with some facts. These are facts. So I'm going to kind of read it off my cue card right here. But I'm going to read into you some numbers in reference to what happens to young people when fathers are not involved. When dads are not involved, 71% of children are more likely not to graduate from high school. When dads are not involved, 90% of children are more or less homeless or runaways. When dads are not involved, 63% of children turn to suicide, youth suicide. When dads are not involved, 71% of children are more likely to experience teenage pregnancy. Let's flip it. When dads are involved, 60% of children are more likely to graduate from high school. When dads are involved, they're 2 times more likely to attend college. When dads are involved, 75% are less likely to experience teenage pregnancy. And when dads are involved, 80% of children are less likely to experience jail time. If that doesn't resonate with you, if that doesn't sink in, still give us a call and let's have a conversation about it.
Wow. Yes. Listen, I know we have a lot of single mothers out there holding it down. Um,
Yeah.
but it's impossible to play both roles. It's impossible, to teach, especially if you are, well, let me not say, whether you have a daughter or a son, kids still need their fathers. And so, as these gentlemen stated, I encourage you to get in contact with, the Midlands Father Coalition to reach out for help, and know that they are going to be there to support you, encourage you, and set you up with the things that you need to be successful. Definitely want to push that, because I know we have I think we've made it a norm. Not that it's a norm, it's a thing, but we really do need to encourage our fathers out there that need support to be set up for success. I love the fact that this is being is an organization that it's really taken action to do that, because like I mentioned, I hadn't heard of things like this going on. So I am just very thankful, because a lot of times we do miss it when we're not talking about fathers. As they said, we hype up Mother's Day, but Father's Day like we forget about our fathers, we forget about our dads. And you all being fathers, of course, you all play a prominent role in your children's lives. And fathers out there, I want you to know you play a prominent role in your children's lives. Your kids need you, so don't think that they don't, because they do. So be mindful to get the support that you all need. But once again, thank you so much, Mr. Langford and Mr. Neal, for joining me today on this particular episode. I really appreciate that. Shout out to your organization founders for letting you take the time to join us. And I hope that this reaches someone out there that, again, if you need the help, all the information will be listed in the description. Visit their website. Their website is going to be listed under www.midlandsfathers.com. You'll see that there, and I'll have their phone number and everything so that you can get in contact with them to get the help that you all need. All right, you guys, thank you again for tuning in. Mr. Langford and Mr. Neal, have you stay on for just a little bit, but thank you for tuning into the podcast. This was our episode. And once again, if you have not subscribed, click that subscribe button, please. All right.